The Bengals have been saying, why not us all year? And now they're saying it is us. And they're not underdogs anymore, baby. Doubt them at your own risk. Welcome to the Jungle, Bengals fans. I'm Kyle Phelps, and let's fucking go, baby! This is really happening! The Cincinnati Bengals are on the way to the AFC Championship after taking down the Tennessee Titans in an absolute thriller. 19-16, the final score in a game where the Bengals offense had, issues finishing drives throughout the day, but ultimately the defense came up in clutch multiple times from damn near every single player on the field. Before we get into that, I'd just like to ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. It really helps my channel out, and it helps you to be the first to know when we put out these recaps after every single Bengals game. And let's go for 2 more this year, baby. It also helps you know when we put our Bengals previews that we put out before each Bengals game with our excellent team of correspondents. We do NFL coverage on Tuesdays and Battle of Ohio podcast clips on the off days. At least until, the off season when the schedule's going to change a little bit. But oh my god, guys, the Cincinnati Bengals are really on the way to the AFC Championship. Like, this is real. For really, really real. Like, really for real. Really. The Bengals exercised their playoff demons against the team that the 31-year streak began against last week, and then this week, they beat the reincarnation of the Houston Oilers, the most recent team that they had previously beaten in the playoffs. Next week, the ghost of the Bengals could potentially come back against the team that they last played in the AFC Championship, the Buffalo Bills, depending on what happens tonight. And could you imagine if we won that game and faced off against the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl? Holy crap. So I mentioned the offensive struggles in the intro. The crazy thing is, even though they only scored 19 points, it wasn't for lack of explosive plays or lack of any sort of passing game or anything like that. Jamar Chase got his requisite 50-plus yard catch in the first quarter and had another really impressive catch at the end to basically seal the deal. CJ Uzomah had some big plays, T. Higgins came up clutch in big situations, and even Joe Mixon had a few big plays after a really abysmal first quarter. It never really got anything going much in the running game, but, he contributed. The problem is they just couldn't figure out how to capitalize on those big plays and ended up relying on Evan McPherson to kick 4 field goals on the day. That final score that they had of 19 points could have easily been 35 points if they had just finished drives. That's how you get Joe Burrow throwing for 348 yards on the day and only scoring 19 points. But ultimately that doesn't matter because they found a way to get the win. Largely through defensive prowess, but the point is it worked. They set that tone on the very first play of the game. That dude, Jesse Bates, came in with a massive interception right away. I know he hasn't exactly had the kind of season that we all expected from him, but he's kind of looked back to his old self when things really matter. The playoffs. If he can play up to his potential, I don't know how anyone can ever sleep on this Bengals defense for the rest of the entire season. Like, seriously, you've got Trey Hendrickson, BJ Hill, DJ Reader, and Sam Hubbard all on that front line. At linebacker, you got Jermaine Pratt and you got Logan Wilson. At corner, you got Cheeto Uzie, Mike Hilton, and Eli Apple. More on him later. At safety, it's Von Bell and Jesse Bates. Out of all those dudes, Jesse Bates this year has been one of the bigger liabilities. And tell me, how are you going to get anything accomplished against this team when all of those dudes, including Jesse Bates, are playing up to their potential? The Titans couldn't, as represented by the 16 points that they scored on Saturday. Unfortunately, the Bengals' first offensive play didn't exactly go great either. Joe Burrow took a 3-yard sack right away, which I suppose is better than an interception. But it set the tone on the day for the Titans' defense on a day where Burrow was sacked 9 times, guys. Seriously, I know they've been making things work this year with a patchwork offensive line, And I've been a big proponent of chalking up a lot of Burrow's sack numbers this year to his style of play. You know, he likes to move around in the pocket, and he likes to kind of, you know, wait for things to develop and let windows open up down the field. And as a result, that leads to him being more vulnerable in the backfield, and sometimes he just goes down more often than most other quarterbacks do. But that was not what happened today. Hakeem Adeniji and Isaiah Prince were just absolute freaking nightmares on the right side of the line. And if you watched my live stream of this game, you'd know that I was screaming through the whole contest about why is Jackson Carman not in there, man? How on earth are we still trusting Hakeem Adeniji when he's been playing like this for forever? At the very least, Jackson Carman could potentially come in and run block better than Hakeem Adeniji, and then, you know, Mixon kind of gets some stuff going, and then the Titans aren't just like, you know, bull rushing every single play because they know that they're either going to stop Mixon like they have every single play, or they're going to sack Joe Burrow. I just felt like he had a better chance than at least playing better than Adeniji, and at that point, at least you're getting minutely better. Yeah, maybe Jackson Carman's not the greatest guard of all time in pass blocking, but I still feel like he gives you a better chance to win than Adeniji does. And I know Frank Pollock absolutely loves this kid, but he isn't showing the rest of us why on the field. I worry about how he's going to hold up against guys like Ed Oliver or Chris Jones next week, depending on who we face, or if we make it to the Super Bowl, guys like Aaron Donald, Eric Armstead, and Ndamukong Suh, depending on which NFC team makes it to the Super Bowl. Luckily, the Bengals got it down the field, and Evan McPherson ended up converting a 38-yard field goal. So now, the ball's back in the Titans' hands, and oh god, they probably don't trust Ryan Tannehill now, and we're going to have to face up against King Henry, aren't we? We've heard all these stories about him coming back in the workout videos, and it's going to be a massive day for him. There's no possible way our defense with a hurt defensive line, especially defensive interior, is going to be able to slow him down coming off of months of rest. Or, you know, the Titans could go for -6 yards on their first 3 plays and punt the ball right back to the Bengals. That works too. Aside from a weird fair catch interference on Trey Flowers setting the Titans up in excellent field position on the next drive, that's pretty much how things went for the first quarter. Both offenses couldn't do jack shit. You know, other than an awesome screen pass to Jamar Chase, where he turned on the Jets and took it for 57 yards, and at one point looked like he might take it to the house, but he ended up getting tripped up because the Titans defender kind of like sacrificed themselves, and he didn't really get the tackle, but he tripped up Jamar Chase, and the rest of the Titans that were behind him ended up getting that tackle. But even that eventually led to another Evan McPherson field goal. Early in the second quarter, Ryan Tannehill found A.J. Brown for a 41-yard pass, and at that point it took a while, but they did eventually punch the ball into the end zone at that point, and they tied the game 6-6. The nice thing is, it stayed 6-6 because of a weirdly advantageous 12 men on the field penalty on the Bengals, which baited Mike Vrabel into attempting to go for 2 at that point. The Bengals stuffed the attempt, so the Titans did not gain the lead, and it was the first of like 3 or 4 opportunities the Bengals had during the day that was created by them initially making a really dumbass mistake and then on the next play taking advantage of the situation that it caused. Like, Joe Burrow had a sack reversed because the Bengals ended up having a delay of game penalty on the play. Late in the game, which we'll talk about later, but just, you know, for now, just so you know, Zach Taylor was trying to call a timeout before the Titans threw that, like, you know, I don't want to say game-sealing interception because you still got to go down the field and get the points, but, you know, that big interception at the end where Bengals fans were like, oh my god, we can actually go win this, the Logan Wilson interception. Before that play, Zach Taylor was trying to take a timeout, and he was unsuccessful, but you know, it's okay, it ended up working out. The next drive, Joe Burrow is starting to cook. He's finding the open receivers, and he's piling up those chunk plays all the way into the red zone. At which point, the drive just totally stalls. Burrow ends up getting sacked for like 12 yards, and like I said, you know, story of the game. In both instances, actually, story of the game, because it set up another Evan McPherson field goal, and this time it was for 54 yards, but hey, it's Money Mac, baby. He did it right in front of Randy Bullock, man, and it was awesome because Randy Bullock gave us so many problems with that last year. Money Mac comes on the field, baby, Shooter McPherson, and he hits that 54-yard field goal, and it once again bails the Bengals out of, you know, what was looking like a pretty good offensive drive and just completely fell apart. That's 3 field goals, though, in the first half if you're counting. And there you go. That's pretty much it for the first half. The Bengals could be up 21-7 right now if, you know, weird things didn't happen, but instead they're holding on to a very slim 9-6 lead. And I'll tell you what, they absolutely came out firing in the second half. Joe Burrow racked up another sack on the drive, but he also made some great passes on the drive and capped things off with a 16-yard screen touchdown to Joe Mixon. Next drive, the Titans finally got Derrick Henry going a little bit, only for Ryan Tannehill to end the drive with his second interception of the day. And I said on the live stream, Mike Hilton, I love you, man. Suddenly, the Bengals are up 16-6 with a real opportunity to start twisting that dagger if they can get some offense going like they did on the first drive of the second half. Nope. 3 and out. The Titans drove down the field on the ensuing drive for a 34-yard Randy Bullock field goal to bring it within a touchdown. A touchdown that they got, by the way, after Samaje Perine completely whiffed on an easy pass from Joe Burrow, and Amani Hooker wrangled the ball away from the ground at the very last second. I still say that it looked like the ball touched the ground before he really truly had clear possession, but I really see the call going either way, and at the end of the day, it was a really good play on the ball, so it would have been kind of like weird if they didn't call it a catch. So I wasn't really super mad about this particular interference from the refs. The really frustrating part is it set the Titans up with absolutely fabulous field positioning that they converted with an incredible back shoulder pass from Ryan Tannehill and an even more incredible side hip catch by A.J. Brown for a 33-yard touchdown. Now, the game is 16-16, and it feels like the Titans have all the momentum, especially when the Bengals have to punt the ball right back to the Titans early in the fourth quarter. Luckily, the Titans drove down to the 35-yard line, and Mike Vrabel didn't trust Randy Bullock, who would, so they elected to go for a fourth down conversion attempt with Derrick Henry. The Bengals defense absolutely stepped up on that play, and they got him in the backfield. Awesome! Except not quite so awesome. The Bengals offense put together another long drive that led to another punt. And now the Titans have the ball with 2:43 left in the game, and they only really need a field goal to finish the Bengals off. Things started feeling real bad when Julio Jones burned Eli Apple for a 16-yard catch and Trey Hendrickson went down with an injury. He went back into the game pretty quickly, though, so it wasn't a big deal. And then the Bengals defense held the Titans' rushing attack off the next couple plays, forcing Ryan Tannehill to need to throw the ball on 3rd and 5. And that's when Eli Apple redeemed himself for every single bad play that he's ever had in the Cincinnati Bengals uniform. I know I gave this dude plenty of shit during the season, and he's already earned a few apologies from me, but I still wanted to point out how this dude tipped an errant pass from Ryan Tannehill, which would have just been a great play in the first place. It would have led to a punt, but that tip that was thrown into triple coverage for some reason, ended up going to Logan Wilson, who came down with the play, and it caused the Bengals' win percentage to skyrocket from 47.4 to 70.7 because they only need like 20 yards at this point to get in game-winning field goal range with 20 seconds left. Immediately, Jamar Chase turned in his second big play of the game with a 19-yard catch to pull the Bengals to the Titans' 34-yard line, otherwise known as easy field goal range for Evan Shooter McPherson, baby. Money Mac, after a couple plays designed to run the last few seconds off the clock and set McPherson up in exactly the position that he wanted for this kick, they lined up for the final play. He booted it, and there was never any doubt from the moment that that ball left his shoe. McPherson's fourth field goal of the night was a game-winning walk-off one, and I'm starting to get goosebumps just saying it, man. The Bengals may not have had their best offensive game of all time, but they also never trailed in the game either, and like I said, they could have had like 35 points if they had just finished drives off. So afterwards, they probably spent the rest of the day, and probably even today, celebrating. But then, it's right back to the AFC Championship game that they're going to play next Sunday. The game could be in Buffalo or Kansas City, depending on who wins tonight, but regardless, the Cincinnati Bengals are just one win away from the Super Bowl! How does that feel to say, Bengals fans? That taboo word that felt like a pipe dream for so many years in this city that nobody dared talk about, especially the players on the Bengals. They always talked about being competitive and, you know, being part of the mix and stuff like that. Nobody ever said the word Super Bowl until recently. But now it's a realistic possibility. Not even just a possibility, but a real potential reality. The Bengals have been saying, why not us all year? Now they're saying it is us. And they're not underdogs anymore, baby. Doubt them at your own risk. So how are you feeling after the game, Bengals fans? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I'll feature the best ones in my next recap video, like this one from Zach Carey, who said, "Hoo-day, baby! I'm really feeling this team can make some noise in the playoffs." And, you know, I think they have officially made noise now, Zach. Regardless of what happens next week, the Bengals have accomplished way more than anybody expected going into this year. I even said in the beginning of the year during my Battle of Ohio podcast season predictions that I did think the Bengals were going to get their first playoff win this year. But I thought they were going to lose in the divisional round, and they're even farther ahead than I thought they were going to get. That said, let's not stop there. There's a Super Bowl to go win, and I can't see any reason why it can't be this team to be the one who does it. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. You can always find more of what I do at KylePhelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps, my Bengals coverage at ATBNetwork.com/Cincinnati Bengals, the Battle of Ohio podcast, which is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and right here if you subscribe. But that's all for today, everyone. On to the AFC Championship, baby. I'll leave y'all, as always, with a hoo-day!